The movie begins in the 1950s, with a line of Plymouth Fury cars being finalized, but there's one special model, a red one that already makes a scene. One unlucky worker, while inspecting the engine, has his hand crushed when the hood decides to close on its own. While he's off tending to his injury, another employee decides to take a peek inside the car and, to top off the tragedy, drops some cigarette ashes on the seat. Hours later, everyone is ready to leave, but the supervisor notices that the red car has its lights on. As he approaches, he finds the worker with the cigarette in his hand, but with no chance of ever lighting it again. We fast forward to 1978, and the scene shifts to a young nerd, Ari, and his friend Dennis, who gives him a ride on their first day of school. Their friendship is solid, but when Ari comes across a red Plymouth Fury, the same one from the factory incident, his sanity starts slipping, along with his glasses, which the bully Buddy breaks. Despite Dennis advising Ari not to buy that piece of junk, the nerd decides he's found something as ugly as he is, but with the potential to be less terrible. It's almost like one of those absurd choices we see in dramedies like Little Miss Sunshine, where the car also has its own set of problems. Weeks go by, and Ari transforms as he restores Christine. He ditches the glasses, adopts a more rebellious look, and, of course, drifts away from his friends. In a breathtaking moment, literally, Christine shows what she's made of, nearly suffocating Ari's girlfriend, Lee, with her sinister and jealous aura. Now, what would I do? First thing, I'd leave Christine right there. You can't compete with a killer car. But, of course, Ari does the exact opposite. It's interesting to note that in this film, director John Carpenter wanted the car to have its own personality, and he succeeded, so much so that the car even repairs itself after being destroyed by Buddy and his gang. When Ari finds Christine in pieces, he doesn't give up. While most people would accept their parents' offer to buy a new car, he goes to the edge of sanity to see Christine rise from the ashes, like a motorized phoenix. Later, on the road, Moochie, one of Buddy's goons, hitches a ride and then comes face to face with Christine, who appears out of nowhere like a vengeful ex-girlfriend. Desperate, he tries to escape, but our four-wheeled heroine doesn't make it easy. After a cat-and-mouse chase, Christine corners him in a narrow alley. And then, my friend, not even the cheap switchblade he pulls out is enough to stop the beast. Christine squeezes into the space like someone squeezing into jeans 2 sizes too small and crushes the unfortunate guy without mercy. The next morning, Ari tells Dennis what happened to Moochie but doesn't seem too shaken, maybe even a bit satisfied. Detective Jenkins shows up, full of suspicions and a theory involving the car. Ari pretends nothing happened and leaves with a look that says he's up to something else. Meanwhile, Buddy and Don, who clearly haven't learned anything from horror movies, are hunted down by Christine, now in full motorized fury mode. They try to shake off the car but end up at a gas station. And, of course, things go south. Christine charges him like a demolition machine and pushes Buddy's car, which quickly turns into a fireball. Richie, who was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, gets turned into barbecue in the explosion, while Buddy runs for his life. But Christine, engulfed in flames and still full of style, doesn't give up until she finishes him off too. As if that weren't enough, our metal villain even returns to Will's workshop, covered in smoke. The old man, unaware of the danger, decides to investigate but ends up as yet another unfortunate soul, crushed inside his own car. Since things are spiraling out of control, Dennis and Lee decide it's time to put an end to Christine. They plan to destroy the car with a bulldozer, but of course, nothing goes as planned. Christine, always with a trick up her sleeve, surprises the duo, nearly runs over Lee, and reveals herself not only self-sufficient but also with Ari, now fully possessed, behind the wheel. The situation is so absurd that all it needs is yakety sax, the famous Benny Hill theme. Ari, at the end of his rope, still tries to protect his beloved Christine but ends up losing his life when he's thrown through the windshield. Dennis, seeing no other option, goes all in and finally manages to crush Christine with the bulldozer. But, of course, because every good horror movie leaves a loophole, a tiny piece of Christine still moves in the junkyard, proving she hasn't given up yet. The car used in this film was a 1958 Plymouth Fury, and about 23 cars were used during filming, with some being destroyed in the more intense scenes. If I were in Dennis and Lee's shoes, I'd probably have done the same thing and tried to take out Christine with a bulldozer because facing a killer car with a firearm doesn't sound like a good idea. Now, trying to investigate Christine alone, like Oldwell did? No way! I find it interesting how Christine seems to have a sort of soul that keeps her alive, and honestly, it makes me wonder, will technology one day truly have a will of its own, or is this just another Hollywood exaggeration? But with the advancement of AI, I believe it's possible. Leave your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.
And I gotta tell you, it was perfect.